Wonderful. Mr. Official, I know you had a topic of owner's agent.
I've been talking about for some time, the engineer's report from Bialowski recommended our next step was to hire an owner's agent. And so I think that we should follow that advice and hire an owner's agent.
Are we open for discussion? Okay, so I know that we have on the agenda something that we want to approve as a board, to have a committee formed with the district that includes parents, teachers, staff, different individuals to come together and determine what it is that we want for our next steps. At least from my own personal perspective, I don't think that hiring an owner's agent at this time is our next step. I think the committee is the first step. I realize that we have some projects that we're doing internally with the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and that is being handled internally. I just, from my own perspective, I think the owner's agent doesn't have anything to manage yet because we haven't had the outside committee come in and say, this is what we want to do as a district yet. So at least that's my opinion. So for me, I want to say, for me, I would pass on hiring an owner's agent at this time.
So my input on that is what the owner's agent would do is take this $98 million of reports by the engineers and start to organize it and put it together in an organized manner such that when the go button is pushed, which I think it should have already been pushed because we've had this, almost 6 months now? And in this report, these professional engineers, what did we pay them, Mr. Platko, $100,000?
Just over 100, yeah.
We paid a little over $100,000 to get this report. And we have done nothing with it, okay? And in this report, what these engineers said, now understand, we're dealing with students. Thank you, Mr. Hall, right? We're dealing with students and teachers, and we're interested in their welfare and in the best interest of them. So there are items in here that are critical, okay? And one of the questions I had sent back on the template on the document is, what is your definition of critical? Mine is, it needs addressed immediately, okay? So for 6 months, we've done nothing. We need someone to put the information together, organize it, so we can have a good chronological moving forward. And others might add that this is called walking and chewing gum at the same time. While we can formulate a plan that goes out years into the future, we can also start getting to work on the things that are critical and absolutely necessary to do now. In order to do that, we need an owner's agent.
So first of all, I just want to go back and correct the fact that we haven't done anything, because we have done things. And we can ask Mr. Placco to compile a list of everything that's been kind of worked on, or Mr. Olesic, so that we can go over those. I don't know if those have been talked about in the Facilities Committee or the Buildings and Grounds Committee, but we have been doing work. So there's a couple projects on the plate. So the vestibules are in progress for security. We have bathrooms that are being discussed, because that's something, again, that's not on the critical list, but that's something that our community wanted. We can't afford to do everything on the critical list as a school. We can't afford it.
I disagree. We have $20 million we can start with right now. That's a lot of money. Okay, and so of the items that are in here that are critical, I'm not so sure one has been addressed.
We have a lot of things to address. So just addressing the critical, we have space issues. We have 3 trailers sitting at oh my gosh, Buckeye. We have 3 trailers sitting at Buckeye right now. We have classrooms that are too small at Buckeye. We have a building in Melridge that, again, there's space issues there. So we have more than just the critical things to address, and we got to figure out how they all fit together. Part of that is figuring out what are we going to look like in 5 years, and then starting to plan it. I believe, and I will ask the committee, I believe the vestibule project is scheduled to be finished when?
This summer.
Okay. We had the bathrooms we started looking in. I think that's in progress, but they're not going to be finished till we think.
Depends on which bathrooms, what scope of work, because the high school we're looking at doing this new partitions for now and look at other large improvements later. The Luther's looking at remodeling one of the bathrooms. That was a little more larger scale.
Yeah, due to old technology.
Yeah. So, but there's a process. It's a process. Yeah. There's a roof that's being looked at.
Let me just add to the bathrooms. The bathrooms that we're talking about are just a few.
That's fine, but I think we got to figure out what our big picture looks like so that we're not putting money into stuff that maybe we won't need in the future. again, I think somebody said to me, and I recently thought about this, we keep talking about how people did not support a brand new school, and I was talking to somebody, and they said to me, it wasn't that they didn't support a brand new school. They were worried about the money that we suggested for it, that it wasn't gonna be enough. That they were totally in support of a brand new school, but they were publicly speaking against it. So I question, again, let's bring the community in, let's let them talk about what we need and what they want. Let them bring it to us, and then let's figure out how we pull all this together with the money we have and what we need to do, because I don't think we have a good picture of that right now.
I think the picture is very clear. When I first started on this board, I did a complete looking into the campus buildings here, and there were immediate things that needed to be done then, okay? And that was rejected, and rejected again and again and again. The people spoke, over 76% no vote on tearing this facility down and building
They
a new
didn't
one.
speak to that.
They
did not
to
speak
that.
to tearing the building down. They spoke to
Okay.
the fact they didn't approve the levy, which,
Okay.
for many reasons.
So you can view that however you want. I
Mhm.
believe the people spoke very clearly. And we have critical issues that have been identified by professional engineers that this school district, the taxpayers, have paid over $100,000 for that report. And we are sitting on this report 6 months later, having done next to nothing. So I don't think any critical item in here has been addressed. And so we are not addressing the critical issues. Critical means, starts to equal safety in my mind in some cases. And so I think we're being negligent, even grossly negligent, in allowing these buildings to continue to deteriorate. And when we look at the buildings are not ours. I mean, we're part of the taxpayer group, so in a sense they are that way. But the buildings are owned by all the taxpayers in the school district. We're not taking care of them. What we're saying is, we're gonna take another year, 8 months, develop another plan, and go out and put that forth, but in the meantime, we're not gonna do the repairs that are glaring right in our face. That professionals, that we paid why did we pay professionals $100,000 to give this to us if we're not going to address it?
Going
We
to
paid
use it.
professionals to put that report together because when we tried to pass the levy 2 years ago, we were told we had not done that. So we've done that, we now have the report, and we now have the information, and we have to put that together along with the plan that the community wants. The community did not vote. I don't believe that the community voted the fact that they don't want a new school or to keep this school. I don't believe that that's what they voted for at all. I think they voted for, I don't want to spend the money right now. So I think they need to come together, and the plan that was in place previously was put together by a committee and mostly touted by the board and the administration. I think it's time for the community to come together and put together their plan for what they want for this community, with not having the board be so involved in it. And I think we need to take a step back and allow the community to speak and tell us what is it that you want now? And then take that information along with the report that Bialowski said, and then figure out, like, how are we gonna make all that work? I don't believe that, at least for myself, that being fiscally prudent means that we're going to spend money on a facility because it's a critical repair. If I'm not gonna keep that facility and the community says, I don't wanna keep that building, then that would be wasteful on my part. That would not be fiscally prudent, and I wouldn't be a proponent of that at all. So I believe that any kind of conversation here has to start with, what does the community want? I don't think there's any bone in my body that says we are not being responsible and taking this information from what Bialowski said, and we are not being responsible with it. I think being responsible with it says, here, community, this is what they've said, what do you want to do with it?
So,
This is taxpayer dollars. It's not up to me how we spend that money at this point.
So we are elected officials to determine how that money is spent. That's exactly our job.
And it's exactly, I have to listen to the community, and what is it that they want? It is not up to me.
So
It's not up to you.
So you want to go to the community to have the board step aside and have the community. Does that mean how many thousands of people? How many people
Isn't that
would
what you
be?
continue to say, that we need to listen to the community and what our taxpayers want? You continue to say that, and then when we say that we're gonna do that, and then you say you don't wanna do that. I can't figure you out, Mr. Fischel, I just can't figure it out.
Well, I'll explain it. It's real clear. When the community says 76 point something percent to 23 point something percent, that they don't want to do that, I believe they have spoken clearly. You may not think so, you may think that maybe they didn't know what they were thinking about, or maybe weren't getting what they
I'm
wanted.
not saying that at all.
Okay, but I think they've spoken very clearly, and I think these buildings need to be taken care of. When Mr. Hack was here in his last meeting, he said very definitively, in the last 10 years I've been on this board, nothing's been done to improve these buildings.
I don't think he
That's
said that.
not
That is
so.
not true. And we
That's
can
what
go
he
back
said.
and, he did not say that.
Okay, and so he said nothing's been done in the last 10 years, nothing, okay? And so what I would ask is, what is a list of upgrades, windows, replacements, different things that's been done in the last 10 years?
So-
Mr. Arlesic said for 10 years, that roof's been leaking over the chemistry room, 10 years.
So at this,
Unacceptable in my mind. We need to get to work on these things. Now we are addressing that, and that'll come up in the Buildings and Grounds report. That roof is being addressed.
And so we have never, in the 12 years I've been on this board, the vast majority of the time I've been on Buildings and Grounds, other than maintenance stuff here and doing some work at the auditorium, which really looks pretty spectacular at this point, we have spent $0 on the campus. Basically, repairs, maintenance, whatever, but we have not done any improvements at the campus in my 12-year tenure. And so I guess I'm a little, I think if there is a sense that there's going to be another, in the future, there's going to be another attempt to replace Riverside with a new building, that's going to be a problem. That's really going to be a problem.